Okay. So thank you once again, everyone, for joining in. So this is our sixth version or sixth edition of our webinar, like that we have started since one and a half month back. And so we are now running a series of AI basics and the glossaries, right? So today is the third and the last part of the discussion. So where we are going to cover three dimensions of AI, predominantly computer vision, robotics, right, and the natural language processing. And the interesting part about today's session, at the end of these sessions, we are going to give you three case study, right? And it's a very simple one. And please consider this as a psychological safe environment. We are here to learn, right? So not to, and it's okay to fail and it's okay to make mistake, right? And another very important thing about this learning is there is no specific algorithm which is only used for one particular situation. It's always a kind of mix of different type of AI dimensions, right, in any of these use case situations. In fact, like what all things we have learned in the last 2 days, that does not mean that on those situations, right, only that particular algorithm is applicable. Let's say deep learning or machine learning, whatever we have learned, it is not like that we are only applying that. So it may be majorly deep learning is applicable or majorly machine learning is applicable, but that does not mean that we cannot apply, or computer vision is not applied there, or NLP is not applied there, or robotics is not applied there, right? It's always a mix, right, with a different type of weightage. Now, when we talk about computer vision, right, as the name suggests, it's all about object detection mostly, right? So in many cases these days, knowingly or unknowingly, we are detected or we are, right, being shadowed by AI. Correct. What all things we do, we get into a kind of a mall, we don't know, but something is, right. We are always being tracked. Now, gone are those days. Maybe in some of the advanced situations, right, or advanced countries, there is nothing called biometric, right? There is nothing called swiping of the card, because those can be easily tweaked. Correct. So in every entry gate or exit gate, right, you'll be tracked with this computer vision, so that people can track your face. One time it will be taken as a biometric. It is so powerful that every time you get in or get out, right, or go out of the company, you will be tracked, right, or your access will be kind of so no tailgating, nothing. It's a real time evidence. So, what is the background process? What is happening, right? So now you also know, like, look, let's take a step back and go back to our childhood. So I don't know how many of you have seen the movie Tare Zameen Par, right? If so, if you remember that Tare Zameen Par, when Amir Khan came to the parent, right? Because the parents were kind of consistently thinking that the Ishan Avasti was a dumb guy, right? He does not understand, right, anything here. So, but he explained it quite naturally. What is the problem with the dyslexia? That whenever we try to understand four or three, right, we try to create a picture in our mind. Or whenever someone tells about Apple, right, we try to create a picture about Apple. But what was happening with Ishan Avasti, that he was not able to do that relationship or connection between the picture and the right word. And that's the reason how B should look like. Whenever we say B, small b, whether the B should be the round part should be on the right hand side of the straight line or the left hand side of the straight line, he was not able to correlate. So that's the reason he was writing D as B or B as D, right? Something like that. So this is also a kind of, so that means our human brain is also working exactly the way today natural language processing is, right, doing, or the computer vision is doing. So it's all about first image acquisition, right? So image is first captured, the first and foremost thing, and after that it starts doing a lot of pre-processing of the data, because the raw visual data it starts understanding, right? Start pre-processing. Then feature extraction, it's trying to extract the different type of feature from that, and then, right, it is trying to correlate. So object detection and the recognition. So it try to keep saying, remember, okay, if it is coming in this way, I'll consider this as a tiger. Like some of the salient features it is trying to understand. And then based on that learning, right, moving forward, it is trying to like whenever a similar type of object was coming up, so it is identifying, okay, this is also an apple. Like I think in earlier days, I was giving an example of red apple versus green apple. Now these are some of the area like where it fails. So you need to train the model time and again. Correct. Now, a very, very interesting example, again, I have shared earlier, that is with the cat. Now, cat can be of different type of, right? Those who are coming from the biology background, you might be knowing there are different forms of cats or dogs. Now, you may not be able to identify if you show a particular species of dog and if you show something else, it becomes very difficult for the computer to understand, okay, if this is the god, this is also god. It's not like elephant that you can easily find it out, right? So these are all, right, some of the challenges with the computer vision. Now, what are the right practical examples of the computer vision, right? Needless to mention, facial recognition is one of these things. So typically the, right, your biometric and the facial recognition, right? Like whenever you're trying to open up or your retina scanning, right? Your face scanning, right? All these things are kind of coming up. And the best example that you often see these days is the Digiyatra, right? So where this is applicable. Now, still sometime it fails. It's not that it is 100% accurate. Still sometime it fails that even if you captured the picture, but if once you go for the security check-in, sometimes it fails, right? So then people will see your Aadhaar card, etc., and will let you in. Then autonomous vehicle, I think we have discussed enough on that one. So this is the very important one in terms of the safety and security. That Tesla is coming up with autonomous vehicle, but still they are not calling it as 100% secure, because there had been some situations, right, where we are expecting, right, or where we are seeing that autonomous vehicle is failing, that is not able to identify, right, some object. Now these days, right, for the police, right, the scanners, they are also using these computer vision. Now you may not be able to understand, like it is doing an automated scanning, correct? So you may be seeing a crowd in front of you, but they will be able to easily understand in which of these, with which of this crowd or whoever it is there, right, who is carrying a kind of revolver, correct? It will be able to easily find it out, right, with the proper scanning. Now, quality control in manufacture, that is also something which you not be able to identify. Now, earlier it was more of a reactive, now it is more of a kind of proactive. Through a proper screening or scanning, right? Even with the, sometimes what happens is in different bridges, right? Cement bridges or any other bridges, over bridges, there is something maybe in some portion the concrete is not very clear. There are some gaps, and which can be a right good opportunity, right, for a building collapse or a kind of bridge collapse, etc., etc. So they are now using a computer scanner, right? So here the AI is used, so it can scan it and it will be able to tell you that, okay, whether there is any gap or not, right? So that it can take some action accordingly. So agriculture monitoring, I think I've shown you a shots other day. Augmenting reality, this is very much used in the right video game. So it will take you to a kind of right different world, etc., etc. Security surveillance I have already talked about, and the optical character recognition. The common use that we are seeing is as a barcode scanning. So it should be able to identify it very clearly, which you and me will not be able to identify, but they will be able to identify that, right, very easily, that what is the barcode, and accordingly, right, it will be able to identify and process your data. Now, if you remember, like sometimes back, like we were doing some fingertips also variation, right? So whenever the fingertip scanning was there or fingerprint scanning was there, like we were still using that, this one. So they are taking, that's the reason they were always telling, like, you try to put the finger, rotate the finger, right? Different types. So they are taking the entire one, and after that, there may be some algorithm or logic like that. If it is finding a 50% or 60% match, right, it will get you through. Because not all the times whenever you are putting the finger, right, the pressure is always the same when the picture was taken and whenever you are actually doing it, right, on day in, day out basis. So that is your right computer vision. So the next thing that we are seeing here is called the robotics. Now, what is the difference? With robotics is not something new, right? Robots were there earlier. In fact, right, for the last 10 years, the robotic process automation, or RPA, right, isn't very much used. I'm sure like in all the manufacturing industry, RPA is very much used for optimization. Then what is the difference between that robotic process automation and robotics in AI? The fundamental difference is in the transform traditional robots, right, are having pre-programmed instructions. Now here, the only difference is they are not only right following the instruction, they can also take some decision, right? So it is programmed, the algorithm was made in such a way that we are right giving them some intelligence so that it can act accordingly. It is not always looking for your instruction, right? But it is going to act accordingly. Now I can just give you a very funny example these days. So it's a very viral video. I'm sure like some of you might be knowing it. So there was a female humanoid, correct? And one person was, of course, having all the features, etc., etc. And one person was trying to go for an illegitimate touch. And immediately, right, it sensed and it fought back or fights back, right? So that means that level of intelligence is where, like we talk about good touch and bad touch, right, which is being taught in the school these days. So that level of intelligence is fed into the robot that whenever you are right touching that robot in some of the organs, like it will not tell anything. But whenever you are going to touch in a bad manner, it will also sense that and immediately it will revert back, right, or response back. So that's the level of intelligence that we are trying to feed in. So what are the real-time example? Perceive their environment. How do they do that? Like using the sensor, camera, etc., etc. Make intelligent decisions. That is the difference, right? What we are talking about from the earlier robotic process automation and the robotics. Learn from its experience, right? That is something, right, which is the kind of typical machine learning, deep learning, right, situation, and the reinforcement learning, and interact, right, naturally. So here, right, whenever we are talking about these days robots, you will not be able to understand even that whether it's a robot or a real time, right, a person, right, who is going to do the work. Now these days, right, it is becoming as good as human. You will not be able to understand. There are a lot of videos, right, floating around in the YouTube. You can just explore that. Now, some of the examples, autonomous mobile robot or AMR in the warehouses and the logistics. Now, one very easy example. So we had a discussion with the Flipkart CEO last year in our office. So he came and visited and he was telling that in Flipkart, how they are using right the robots right for the intelligent automation or the warehouse fulfillment or the inventory management. Surgical robots is commonly used, right? But still, now it is almost self-independent these days. Earlier, there was a little bit of monitoring, but now the doctor is just giving the instruction, right, feeding all the right data, and after that he does all the surgery. Correct. So it is so self-sufficient these days. Humanoid robot for the social interaction and the services. Robots for exploration, like space and now there are some of the situations where human cannot go, like now this is very much used for these days for the disaster management, where during the fire, right, in the fire or in a very difficult situations, right, whenever there is a landslide where the human cannot go, right, they can send the robots will do the right these things. Correct. And the last one is agricultural robot. I am sure like you have seen that the other day, which we call typically agri-boats. So which can scan and cut these things. And the best part is the intelligence part, right? And I think the other day I gave that example also. Whenever if you're sending a kind of agri-bot, right, in a tea garden, so it'll easily understand, right, what to pluck and what not to cut. Right, even if for cutting the trees and or shading of the tree or trimming the tree, it'll easily understand okay which one to cut and which one not to cut, because there are typically some of the big trees in between which is giving shade to the kind of tea garden. So it will not do that. So that level of intelligence is fed into the right those robots. Now the next part, the last part for us, which is very common for all of us, which is called the NLP or the natural language processing. And generally in India, in a country like India, it's very, very difficult because our accents are different in the different zone. The way we talk, right, in Bengal, the way we talk in South India, the way we talk in northern part of the India, the way we talk in the western part or the northeast part of the India, those are kind of different. So our English speaking, etc., etc. So that is the reason, right now these days you have seen that whether it is a right Gmail, the Gtalk or Zoom or whatever. So it can create some transcription, right? And in those transcript, you can find out that sometimes, right, you have not told that, but it is interpreting your language is language like that. So probably you need to do the right language selection. If you select the language called English British, it will interpret, it will expect your accent to be in that way. If you're selecting the English in the United States, it will be expecting your English to be in that way. If you're selecting English India, it will be very close to like whatever you are saying. So these are some of the rules that you need to send. Now, what are some of the limitations? Right? It is emotionless, right? It will only process what you are saying. But whenever something is told, like same statement is told with anger, sometimes same statement is told about right with emotion, with anger, with sarcasm, it will not be able to understand. So it will just process. Like anytime we say the same statement right in different format, but it will not be able to understand. It does not have that emotion. It is just following the instruction. Right. These are some of the challenges yet to be explored or yet to be right processed right in the NLP, natural language processing. Now, what are the background exercise? First is the text pre-processing. So cleaning and preparing the raw text data, then feature extraction, and then the right modeling. Practical example, voice assistant like Siri, Alexa, right, Google Assistant. You have seen that now these days people really don't type for any search. Correct. Earlier we used to search in Google, but now these days most of the people are right using the Google Assistant right for searching even, and we are seeing almost right. It is interpreting your question in a proper way. Few years back also, not few years, I would say 2 3 years back also, it was not that efficient, but now it is kind of responding the way you expect. Okay. Next is machine translation, right? Kind of almost same thing like Google Translate and the deep learning. Sentiment analysis. Now, this is one of the area, right, which is very, very important that it can, right, it will, from your answer, like if you remember, I don't know how many of you can remember that in our fresher interview days, right, we used to go for a psychometry analysis. So it may ask you question in different format. Same question, but they may be asking in different format. And based on your response, it can understand your mood. It can understand your personality. It can understand your pattern, right, of your answering, your behavioral approach, etc., etc. And accordingly, like we can right take the actions accordingly. Now, chatbots and the customer service automation. Now, this is one of the area where still there is a lot of research going on, because chatbots and the right customer service automation, they are very good whenever you are actually answering the way you want you to answer. But whenever you are coming up with your personalized problem or your customized problem, they are failing to understand your emotion. Now, I have had some practical experience, right, few days back. So when I had some problem with the right one of my credit card, and because of no fault of mine, I was charged with a kind of penalty, right? Because I did not do any transaction, but for the annual renewal fee, which I almost I did not notice, right? It was charging me since I did not pay. There was no as such reminder or nothing, and I was having an impression that I have not done any transaction, but it sent me a kind of penalty, right? Something like that. So when I was trying to reach out to them, it was expecting right all those pre-processed instruction, but whenever I am trying to get them or give them, can you help me to route it to the kind of customer support assistant? I don't understand what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. It's continuously saying the same thing. Then then I found a different route to go ahead, and then I got the got my problem resolved. Spam detection, email filtering. This is one of the area where it has made a huge progress. Now, after reading the email, right, or in fact, these days you must have seen that if you're using Truecaller or something, it will immediately detect in the phone also, right? Even in the not so I would say grand phones, but in the simple phone also, it will be able to identify a probable spam, right? You may want to ignore. It will just mark it as red, and it will tell you, give you the indication. Text summarization. This is another very interesting thing, that if you just put that, and this is widely used these days, and I'm sure all of us are using it, that if you are right now, I can give a very quick example here with my friend Kaustubh Dash. So I moved to Thailand, and he arranged everything for me, and he was asking for a feedback. So I wrote the entire content, and then I told AI to rephrase it for me, right? And it rephrased it. Main content was of mine, of course, But I told that, okay, can you just rephrase it in the proper way? So it has rephrased that proper way. So that was the secret sauce, right, of my feedback Ostub, right? So there is nothing to hide. Correct. But yeah, content was mine, but it rephrased it properly, right? In a right format with all the grammatical checks, everything. Next is predictive testing and autocorrect. These, I'm sure all of you have seen that. Whenever you're writing an email, you are immediately seeing that, okay, what is the possible next one or two statement, right? Right. That is coming up immediately. Correct. So predictive text and the autocorrect. Sometimes I know some of my friends are facing difficulty in WhatsApp that whenever they are trying to write something, right, it is giving us some unconstitutional word also, right? Sometimes it may so happen as well. Right. These are some of the right practical hazards of the NLP as well. And of course, the last but not the least, which we have been using for the last 30 years without understanding that there is AI going behind the scene, that is the Google search engine, right? So it is nothing new, right? We have been using AI for quite some time. Okay, so that's pretty much is the content which I wanted to cover. But now what I want is for the next 5 minutes, I would like to give you three situations. And again, please share your view. It's nothing right or wrong, guys, right? Nothing right or wrong. Just think from what all things you have learned, right? It's just a kind of practical example that we're talking about. Just think about it and try to tell that, okay, what could be the AI models, right? Or what could be the AI dimensions which can be used in this situation? Again, I'm saying that very clearly, get the hint that it is not always a kind of single dimension which is going to be used. It's a mix of it. Correct? So let's try to explore that. Anyone, no need to raise hand, nothing. It's a free flowing environment. Anyone who is thinking that he can or she can right give the answer, just go ahead and do that. So a reputed bank is continuously getting complaints about the fraudulent transaction using the bank credit card and sometimes with the debit card as well. Now, some of their customers have reported about the fraudulent calls and the transaction as well using OTPs. The bank has decided to use AI to handle this situation. So what is or are the right dimension of AI out of the following way should implement here? Justify your answer. So which one should we use here? Right? Machine learning, deep learning, computer vision, robotics, NLP. What do you think? Any idea? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? See, I can just give you, so computer vision, robotics, NLP have understood today. Deep learning is all about making decision, right? Doing analysis, right? And taking a decision like a human brain. Machine learning is all about understanding the pattern, right? And responding back. Learn from the pattern and take a decision accordingly. So which one do you think? You don't have to be absolutely correct. Just think and try to answer. Nothing right or wrong. Anyone? People won't join from the next time. Am I audible, guys?
Is it a machine learning?
Again, as I said, like there is not a single one, right? Of course, machine learning is
Okay.
there,
Yeah.
right?
Machine
So
learning should be there and deep learning also comes into picture, I think.
absolutely, absolutely. What else?
Yeah.
Anything else? Right? Okay, good. If no one is giving
So
answer,
machine
so
learning, yes,
yes,
I agree. It can be machine learning and things like pattern recognition, right?
correct,
Where AI is able to identify those patterns and kind of correlate, right? To
right,
Yeah.
hint at fraud
correct.
activities.
So like let's say Kaustubh, right? So you have been dealing with various repetitive customer, correct? So
Correct.
you know
Correct.
your pattern, right? The way, right, they're expecting. So some of the customer may
Right.
be, right, who are your repeat customer, they are always looking for some star hotel. So you know their pattern. Like
Correct.
poor
Correct.
customers like me, right? You know that I'll not go for a star hotel, right? I'll tell you, give me a right budget hotels. Just on the lighter note, right? No, but this happens,
Like or
right?
not. Yes.
Right?
That's a
This
good joke.
happens, right? That happens. So some people will
Mhm.
be looking for a share. Some people will be looking, no, no, no. I'm not comfortable, right? Sharing my right cab with others. I will prefer to go for a kind of dedicated cab. Happens, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm sure
Yes.
your brain is also working in that way. You know that, right?
Correct.
How is
Correct.
your repeat
Correct.
customer? Like if he's my customer, he will look for this. And I know that like
Right.
being a kind of great travel agent, you have got and you have to have a diverse option, because you cannot expect all your customers to look for a similar service from your end.
No, it cannot be. It cannot be. It's a different customer, different choice, different needs, different desire, everything. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Some
Yeah.
people, I know that there are some people who are always looking for a hotel which which is going to have swimming pool. Without that, they will not go for it. Correct.
Yes. Yes.
I know
Yes.
that my sister is like that. Oh, do you have a
Uh-huh.
swimming pool? Right. My kids loving like spending their time right
Yeah.
in the swimming pool. And happens. There's nothing right or wrong here. That's their expectation. Right.
No, that's their
That's
expectation. That's
their
their choice.
expectation.
Yes.
Correct. Their choice.
Yes. Yes.
Correct. So something like that. So of course, machine learning is there. That's the most important one, because it's a pattern analysis, and they have
Yes.
clearly told that they have seen a series of fraudulent transactions. And whenever you have
Mm-hmm.
this kind of raw data, past data, it becomes easier for you to identify the pattern and take the actions accordingly. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So
But
and
again, the limitation of this AI based, apps or API based of, apps is that, like, as you were mentioning that, when you had called the bank, call center for the credit card, dispute, and then he was repeatedly saying the same answer, because it
exactly.
is that fitted answer he knows, and he is only saying that. So
Correct.
if you just twist a question, or you can, just a different question, then he has no answer.
Correct.
So that is the limitations. And for the API based apps also, like, if somebody can see that the hotel is the picture is good, but they cannot say that where is the location, where is the
Correct.
exact location of the hotel.
Correct.
So that is also very important. So
Correct.
some customer wants that, I want to be in the middle of the, center area, that city
Exactly.
center area.
Exactly.
Some of them, they want that, I need the view from the room.
Correct.
So it can be a little bit far away. So
Correct.
these are the difference. So they're always, human. I mean, the machine cannot substitute the human. Obviously, it is the upcoming industry and upcoming, technology we have to adopt. But
Right.
again, it cannot replace. It cannot replace.
So it
Absolutely.
depends on the the kind of data that is being fed in.
Right.
More the
Yes.
data that is
Yes.
being fed in, more accurate and precise
Absolutely.
Right.
the
Absolutely.
outcome is
Absolutely.
going to be.
Now
Yeah.
I take the same example which Kaustuv you said, like which I faced. Maybe now it is
Mhm.
learning from that question that, okay, I need an answer to this type of question. Now, moving
Correct.
forward, if this kind of data is
Yes.
being fed to the kind of customer support, so it will be now able to
Yes.
handle some of the
Now,
custom
yes,
queries as
yes.
well. Or even if it is
Correct.
not, right? Even if it is not, it
Mm.
will not say that, okay, I don't understand, but it can say rather, okay, I don't understand, maybe I can route you to the kind of customer call support. That makes sense, because the
Correct.
discussion does not stop there. Now, today, what is
Correct.
happening? The
Correct.
discussion is getting stopped, and I have to cut the call and again call back to get to the customer supporting route, right? But that
Exactly.
learning can
Exactly.
be there. Wonderful. Good.
Correct.
So bank use the machine learning algorithm by analyzing the transaction pattern. As you rightly said, deep learning is also there. Can finding out the complex pattern and doing the analysis and come up with the prediction model, right? Okay, if this kind of transaction is happening, right, we'll go for a verification. Now, you must have noticed that if you do a transaction of 10,000 or 5,000, it will never give you a call back. The bank will never call you back. But if you make a transaction of 50,000 or more, there will be a call. You'll be receiving a call that, okay, is the previous transaction okay for you? Have you made that transaction? Correct. Otherwise, it will not process. It will hold the transaction for some time. Correct. Otherwise, they will process it. NLP to address the fraudulent call and the messaging, right, involving the OTP. Now, one thing is missed out here, that is the computer vision. Computer vision is, can anyone tell me where the computer vision is used in this fraudulent transaction? Check, sign verification, right, overwriting. So there we
Yes.
can
Yes.
use the right computer vision, right, which is missed out here. But generally the robotics is not that used, right, in this situation. Okay, great. This is a simple one. These days, doctors are facing a lot of challenges with the intricacies of surgeries. The success rate for the surgeries where the absolute precision is required is going down. There are new methods getting developed to leverage artificial intelligence in surgery. So what are the correct dimensions, right, for this one? And which one is not applicable? You should be able to find out which is the most commonly used one. That's a simple one, simplest one. We have
Robotics.
discussed that. Robotics.
Robotics.
Robotics is the first one. Then machine learning, deep learning will anyway be there.
Machine
Another thing
learning,
is there,
yes.
right? Another thing is there, that is the computer vision. Why computer vision is important? Because computer vision will be able to identify, right? Because even if our entire body structure is almost same, but internally, right, you may be finding, let's say, one person is having some cyst, another person may be having some tumor, right? Another person may be having some, right, inflation or something like that. So those things, right, it will be able to detect very quickly, and it can take some actions accordingly. So the object detection or image guided surgery is very important, right, where the computer vision can be, right, useful. The last one, for any product services, we expect the feedback these days through different media. Every organization is trying to analyze the customer feedback from social media, reviews, and surveys to remain customer centric and incorporate this feedback. Customer sentiment through this feedback help business understand public opinion about their products and the services, allowing them to make data-driven improvement. So what are the things, right, which are mostly used or not used at all?
Machine learning is being used here, right? Because the more of the data that is being fed in from the different aspects of social media, the it is making the system learn about the customer sentiments.
Correct.
But I think in this case NLP is also the
Absolutely.
big-
NLP is the
NLP
most
also.
important one. NLP is the
NLP is
most
the most
important one because it can understand. Of course, machine learning, deep learning will always be there.
Go ahead.
So,
but I think the machine learning and deep learning is the basic basic layer.
That will
And
always be
machine
there.
learning-
Correct. Right.
Obviously there. And for the top of the layer, we're using sometimes NLP, sometimes computer vision,
Correct.
sometimes robotics.
Correct.
But these are the fundamental
These are the fundamental
layer of
layers.
this
Absolutely.
fundamental layer. This machine learning and deep learning, these are the fundamental layers.
Fundamental
And
layers.
above the top layer, we will go by the robotics, computer vision, or this.
Correct. So which
I
one
think
is
we have
not
the
used? Sorry, finish your thought. My apologies. Go ahead.
No. This I already finished.
Yeah. So only thing which is not used probably here, right? The robotics. Maybe in some special cases it might be used, but in general, robotics may not be the right one. Computer vision is still used, like if someone is uploading some inappropriate content, right? Sometimes we see that, right? Some illegitimate pictures or inappropriate content people are updating as a part of sentiment, right? So, I mean, as a part of the feedback, right, which we generally discard, right? That computer vision will be able to understand easily, because remember, these are all unstructured data, right? Whenever we are asking for a feedback, these are unstructured data. You cannot, people, apart from the star rating, right, or 1, 2, 3 number-based rating, whenever you are asking them to give you feedback in a free-flowing manner, you cannot control the right whatever they are writing, isn't it? So they can write anything, they can talk anything. You have seen that in some of the movie clips, when the unconstitutional words are being used, how do they handle it? By using a beep, correct? So there the right, it will be able to understand, okay, these are the list of unconstitutional words. When do you find it? Replace that with a beep, so that it will not be able to come to us. So these are some of the real-time situations, right, which is happening to handle or which is happening on the ground. So the bottom line, like why I wanted to bring this point up, I know we have got just 2 minutes. Why we wanted to bring this point up, just to show you that it is not only, like as Proshun rightly said, the deep learning and the machine learning, they are our fundamental pillars, correct? On top of it, there are different type of version, because ultimately it's all about learning, right? Cognitive learning process, and also the decision making, predictive analysis, etc. Okay. So with this, I'll stop the recording. If anyone has any parting thoughts for the next 1 minute, just tell, else we'll wind up.